Look at this water bottle. It seems pretty simple, right? You just see it as maybe trash. But some people can see it as going to college, paying for lunch, putting gas in their car. There's just many different ways that you can see it instead of just kind of drinking your water and then just throwing it out. I'll be talking about how recycling can benefit everybody. And I personally recycle at my own home, but I had to kind of do a speech like this to my parents so that they could help me set it all up. I'm sure that everyone has come across recycling, whether you do it or you don't. If you take part in this activity, you're taking advantage of something that keeps on giving. Today I will discuss the advantages of recycling, like money, organization, and responsibility, and also how it affects the environment. Money is always an issue, and recycling can help add some pocket change to anybody, especially college students. And if you don't have a job, because it's really hard to get a job right now, recycling can just help with money. Depending how long you save your plastic bottles and aluminum cans will help you. Depending on how long you save it, that's how much money you're going to get. So if you just kind of keep saving it, just put it off to the side, if you save more, obviously you're going to get more money. And if you also save plastic bottles, cans, glass, like, you're going to get more money for each of it. It's also the easiest way to make money because it's so simple. All you have to do is just put it in a bag. Like, it just seems really simple. It's not an income to rely on, but it will give you money to spend because you go to school and then you do your homework and then you recycle. So that could be kind of just a little side thing that you do that can get money. It's guilt-free money and you can spend it right away, whereas if you get a paycheck, you probably put it straight into a savings account. So if you just go recycle, you get your cash, and then you can go to In-N-Out or whatever. But before getting to the money, you have to learn how to save the recyclables in a responsible way. It's hard to remember to recycle a bottle rather than throw it away, so it may help to put up signs by regular trash cans like I did in my own home because I'm not the only one that lives there. So in front of my trash cans I have like, is that recyclable? And then right next to it I have like a little bag so my brother can just look at it and then throw it away. It takes time to separate the bottles if you don't separate them, so that's going to have to take some responsibility to remember to do that. Recycling is one of the most important acts to follow in our daily lives because it can reduce the amount of waste in our landfills, sustain our natural resources, and provide better air and water quality. Recycling can help at home, but in the end, it really just helps the environment. Every ton of paper that is recycled saves 17 trees. These are just some facts that I found. Only about 1/10 of U.S. garbage actually gets recycled every year, when in reality over half of it can be recycled into new products. We can really make the world a better place, like that's so cliche to say. But with recycling, it does just kind of, you just do your part. Like, oh well, you just throw your trash away and then you just throw it in the recyclable. It's not that hard to do, and it really does help the environment. The energy we save when we recycle one glass bottle is enough to light a light bulb for 4 hours. Recycling 1 ton of paper saves 17 trees, 7,000 gallons of water, 3 cubic yards of landfill space, 2 barrels of oil, and 4,100 kilowatt hours of electricity. Enough energy to power the average American home for 5 months. So not only does recycling help out the environment, like I just mentioned, but also helps out on an individual level with money saving, and it can also kind of teach you life lessons of how to be responsible to recycle and how to be organized with your trash. And so the next time you come across one of these little plastic bottles, what are you going to do? Will you recycle to help yourself in the environment, or are you just going to throw it away and not think twice?
Christopher, what did you think?
I thought it was good. It was structured well, and there's good use of personal examples, like how she labels her trash and things like that. And the money bit was very relatable because everybody likes money. And I like the visual. It was simple but very effective. And that's it.
All right, the attention device was fine, although the phrasing on it is a little bit awkward. I think there's some suspense that you're trying to build into that attention device, and it doesn't work quite as smoothly as it could. Once you get into the topic, then I think I can look back and see what it was that you were talking about on some of those points. The thesis statement was clearly stated. You have a nice justification at the beginning of the speech, and there's a good preview, although I did think that you rushed through it a bit. So I think the setup is pretty solid. The execution of the body of the speech, I think, is a little bit more problematic, because once you get there, it's all kind of this first-hand personal experience about recycling, which is not a bad thing. There's a little bit of data about the energy or the resources that are saved by recycling. We get no source citation on that information, and I've heard that the same information many times before, so I know it comes from someplace, and you need to tell us where it comes from. This would be a good place, for example, for some of those statistical comparisons that could be visualized and would make your speech a little bit more interesting. You know, a single empty Arrowhead bottle is an underwhelming visual aid. It identifies the topic. You can make one reference to it later on, although I think you were talking about glass bottles and not plastic bottles at that point, so that was a little bit problematic. You don't get as much into the speech content-wise as a consequence. The nice thing about the speech, you do a good job talking to the audience. You have good speaking skills. You're pretty direct in making eye contact. I did think maybe you rushed a little bit, and that's a problem because the speech is only 3 minutes and 57 seconds, so it's half the amount of time that you have. There's plenty of room to add material to make it a little bit more interesting. There are 2 or 3 things that you did do that added some interest to it. You talked about what you've done at home, you know, getting your brother to think about those kinds of things. But the first question I thought of when you said, is that recyclable? Well, how do we know if it's recyclable? Where do we recycle? You know, lots of things are recyclable, but I'm not exactly sure I can take them to the local recycler and get money for them. Milk bottles, for instance, detergent bottles, that sort of thing. Do they give you the money on that, or is it they're only giving you the money on the glass bottles and those kinds of bottles? They got a number system on this. You know, how does that work, and how do you recycle on all those kinds of things? So there are a lot of questions still that I think could be developed, and your speech, you know, it's very basic. You know, it introduces things that I think 90% of us know going into the speech, so it's not adding enough to us to make it really work as well as it could. All right, thank you very much.